Hello and welcome to the Business Pointers Human Resource Management System presentation and demonstration. What you're seeing in front of you is a single human resource system which is also integrated to other modules like finance for connecting the payroll and inventory procurement for labor and resources and also executing those functionality. Although it's a full-blown ERP system, but today's focus will be more on the human resources and more specifically on the payroll, which caters staff and geography. So what you see in front of you is a full-blown HR, which has a section which is a setup section where a typical super user will go in. And the other sections are more for workforce management, where you can add employees, contractors, human resource cases, management. Besides that, it also has employee self-service, where the employees can go themselves and without bothering the HR department can retrieve and update their profiles. They can place leave requests, get their paycheck history, undergo certain trainings, also fill in certain forms. So submit expenses. And then it also has the manager self-service section where a manager sees what are the pending timesheets, travel requests, expense, payroll, and other pending items on his list. The recruitment or the applicant tracking system is a full-blown recruitment and hiring application where you have all the job requisition creation and the workflow for job requisitions, applicant tracking and screening. You can define questions, questionnaires, and then it also builds your own internal applicant pool database or resume bank where you can search at a later stage if you have not hired an applicant who is submitted but was not a right fit for a particular position, maybe a right fit for another position. Succession planning has succession alerts where if you define your thresholds for each role, then probably you can get alerts from the system. So for example, if you want to have at least a minimum of 3 HR executives at any given time, and one of the HR executive resigns, you'll get an alert to backfill that position either internally or through hiring, and that will get redirected over to recruitment. The other module is the performance management module where you define the criteria for evaluating employees by department, by location, by geography, by the job function or title. So depending on those criteria, you can define evaluation templates for the employees. Then the travel and expense management caters to all the travel requests, expense requests, and approvals from the managers and paying those in the form of payroll. The attendance module is integrated with your batch management system, or if you have the timesheet recording method, then it can also be linked to the timesheet basis. Payroll processing is the core payroll function where you do the initial setup, or it can cater to multiple geography. It's a full-blown configurable system, and we'll be going in detail of this one. Besides this, it also has benefits where you can have all your employee benefits being classified. It also has training or LMS, learning management system, and it has the project-based human resources. It also comes ready with certain reports and dashboards, so you don't need a separate BI or analytics tool to prepare your reports and to prepare dashboards for the management who can get a quick snapshot of how the HR organization is functioning. Now to start with the payroll, we'll just go in the administration section, and as you can see here that this is the setup, and if we go in the payroll setup, we can start with payslip components. So payslip components are basically the components which constitute a payslip. And for example, for Africa and Nigeria or Congo, or these areas have certain specific structure which is specific to the Nigerian geography or Congo geography or any other African geography. This can be configured for any geography. For example, if you see here, we define the payslip components for Nigeria. And then it also shows some component for India. So you define these components, and then at a later stage, after defining these components for each geography, what category they belong to, earnings, allowance, deduction, you group them together in what's called a pay setup master. Now, pay setup master is nothing but it combines and groups these to create a pay policy where you can have the employees being assigned those pay policies in the employee master, so that when the payroll is executed, it can actually cater to the specific deductions that have to be applied to the employee. Now in here, if you see, these are the two pay policies. One is a standard pay policy, and in one we just give you an example how the system is configurable. So in the first pay policy, we have all the components that we just showed you on the previous screen, and in this one there is no NHF included in the pay policy. So if we go in the detailed view of this, you'll see how the system is configured, and you can also define whether the tax slabs are being picked, and if you are picking the tax rate or the applicable rates for each of those components. For example, here we have basic income tax, housing allowance, transportation. So if you see here, it's specific to Nigerian geography because we defined those components for Nigeria. And you see here, these are in this pay setup, these are two earning components. Now, gross salary is a mandatory component, but basic income tax, you can also select these checkboxes if you want to show them on the payslip or you don't want to show them on the payslip. And then it also defines, like, for example, tax setup comes from the tax setup screen and not from the current screen. So we just pointed it to tax setup screen. If it takes the input from this particular screen, then you define the rates on this screen, like what's the value. This is 10% of basic is the housing allowance. This is just a random number. And then after you have the pay set up, now the difference between the other one is that we've not included this component of NHF in the other pay setup master. So this is an example how the system can be configurable. We can define one configuration or one pay policy for one set of employees, another pay policy for another set of employees. So this is the one which we were talking about with no NHF. If we go in there, we'll just see that the NHF component is missing in this particular pay setup. Now, after we have done that pay setup, then we'll be adding it to a payroll calendar. Here that there is no NHF in this section. Now let's go to the pay policy. What does a pay policy look like? So in order to define a pay policy, we go in here. Before that, we have certain other configurations, and given the scope of this demonstration, I'm not going into those details. So you have to define a payroll calendar, as that's an input that goes in the pay policy. What's the payroll calendar? And in the pay policy, as you can see here, we have the two Nigeria pay policies. The pay policy is made up of a pay setup and a payroll calendar. So if we go in the detail view, and most of the software is in the form that each one of these is a URL, and if you want to see a detailed view. So we are now we were on the list view, and we are entering into a detailed view of the software. So here you see that we are saying that use this pay setup master, which is Nigeria standard, which we just defined some time back. And then this is the payroll calendar that links with this pay policy. And J type is more for journal entries. If you have our finance module, if you buy the finance module, then you can have all your financial statements coming out of it, and this allows you to define that. Now we'll quickly go into the employee master to see what does an employee master look like, and how we configure these. After we have done the core configuration of super user, we go in the employee master and how we assign those pay policies to the employee. And okay, this is how the employee master looks like. Just like other screens, this is employee master URL, and if I have to go into the screen, I will just click on that URL and I can go in the detail view of that screen. So I'll just go in the detail. As you can see here, this is the employee. His name is Chris, and you see his picture out here, and that helps you recognize, oh, this guy I have to configure the payroll for this guy. So you go in here and you define the pay policy of this employee. And once the pay policy is defined, you also define his salary rate, what was his hiring date, and is already included in the system. And if he has a leave policy, then you also define the leave policy. So after all this setup is done, then you go in the payroll processing screen, and the payroll processing screen is which is the input screen that you might have a pay policy payroll wizard, which is already defined. Again, it's defined as part of the initial configuration. You can define a new pay policy based in a payroll scenario, and then you just say that, okay, I'm running a payroll scenario 2016, and then you select a wizard. Now, what is a wizard? Wizard is basically which you define as part of configuration, and if you select this, you see that these are your filters. Now, if you want to filter your employees based on department or based on some other criteria, then you can just generate the list of those employees, and I'll just make it the same thing again here. And then I'm going to be paying my monthly employees for the month of November, and I'm saying that, okay, you can combine the entities or keep it separate, which means that the payroll expense, commissions, what is that you're going to process. After you do that, then you go on the get payroll list, and that get payroll list is which will get the list of all the employees at whose payroll you want to. All the list of my employees is showing here. Now, if it is linked in the attendance module, now you see here is 0 working days, so it won't calculate any of the attendance, and we'll have to go in the attendance module and upload the attendance if it comes through batch or direct integration with your batch swipe system, or it comes through your timesheet. So you can just get those details from the daily attendance, and it will start showing on the payroll. So let's see if we have some employee. Let's just change the department and see if we can get some employee with whose attendance is already entered in the system. So when I get the payroll list, the list gets generated. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have any attendance being inputted for any of these employees that I got on this list. Let's try someone else. Yeah, the November attendance is actually not yet entered, and that's one of the reasons that you won't see the attendance. Let's see that it's not a monthly pay type, so the system gives you an error. Let's switch back. But once you do that, then you have pending payroll processing, and some manager has to approve the payroll in order to process the payroll, and then you can also view is the pay slip by clicking on the next screen. So we'll go on the next screen and see what's the next step in the system. The only thing that you have to do is to execute payroll in the previous, then you come to this particular screen, which is for approving pending payroll. Now here, once you process payroll, you can actually see the previous data. So I'm just seeing one employee was processed some days back, and this is all the breakup of his salary. And if you click on here, you will be able to view the payslip of the employee. And if you see the status here, it says approved. So you will see the approved status. Now you can actually email this payslip to the employee, or you can just save it as a PDF or an Excel file. So your company logo can actually come in here, and then you can see all the breakups of deduction and whatever things that you had put it in the display on the payslip while we were configuring. So this brings us to the end of the payroll presentation, and we will be ready to answer any questions, and you can log on our website, business-pointers. Note that it's s-pointers.com. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to automating your payroll.